Alright guys, let's see if we can get this done. This is the first video for porting XPS models to TMC for Dead or Alive 5 PC. This was a request for help which I received from one of my watchers. Basically, there is this model for Mai, which is based on a costume for Mileena from Mortal Kombat, and the plan is to port this one to TMC format so it can be used in game. Okay. By downloading the package for the XPS model from the internet, we get a few files here. There is this one which is obviously the preview. It's important to have this one so you can have a general idea on how the outfit is, and this will help us to try to identify which are the textures used in this mod. It actually helps. So if you look here, we're going to see several textures. Texture for my face, which is basically the same from the game, and also for the body. But at this moment we are not going to use these ones. Okay. I always like to use the body texture from a model which I already have, so I can have it standard through all the mods. This way I don't mix things. Okay. So for the diffuse and normal map body textures, I'll be using one from nude body from Mai, and from here I'm going to get basically the textures for the costume. So if you look at the textures, there is this one Mileena B, which says diff, which is for diffuse. You have here norm for normal map and so on. Okay, spec here for specular. So let's have a look at this Mileena B ACC texture to see what it is. Okay, this one is for a hair. You can clearly see that. It's not a texture that we'll be needing at this moment. There's this other diffuse one, which is the Mileena B diff. Okay, this is for the outfit. We can clearly see it here. So this is a texture we'll be using. So I have Mileena B diffuse, Mileena B normal here, and specular here. We can open to double check, but it is the normal map. Not sure what this L is. Let's have a look. It's not specular, not a normal map. I've seen this kind of texture used in some models. We'll not be using this one. Okay. I think it's used for light sources. Sorry. So let's get the diffuse, the normal map, and the specular. I'm going to move these ones out from here and put in this texture folder. Okay. The textures for Mai, we don't have much play on her because she has a texture a limit for the TMC file of 6.5 megabytes. As you can, if you go higher than this, it's going to give you infinite loading. So when we look at these textures here, the diffuse textures is 1024 by 1024. I think we can keep this one as it is because I don't see any transparency on it. I don't think it has alpha channel. Okay. So let's just save as and put this into DDS format, and I'm going to choose DXT1 for this one. Okay. Specular one, we can do the same thing, save as DDS DXT1, and we have the normal map here. As you can see, the texture, they don't get big with DXT1. 683, 171. Let's go normal map. In this case, I would recommend resizing. Okay. we go by percentage, drop it to 50% of the size, and we'll do the same thing, save as DDS, DXT1. No alpha channels in any of the textures. So we basically will get for the outfit these three textures, which together they give 1.5 megabyte. Might look small, but remember, mine is 6.5. We still have the body texture, we have texture for the fans. There are the textures that we need to put in the mod, so let's not feel so much comfortable. If in the end of the day you see that there is more room, you can always try to do what I did in my previous video, getting the diffuse texture, trying to upscale it with a software to double the resolution. Sometimes it works well, give you a better result, and you can export again and try inject it into the mod. We're not going to do this now. Okay, this is just a preliminary work, and that's what you have to do in terms of textures for the mod itself. Okay, if there was any texture with alpha channel with transparency, which was the case of the hair, if you look back here in this diffuse ACC, this one has alpha channel here. This would have to be exported with DXT5 compression. Okay, but we're not using this one. So this is the work you got to do for the textures, so you can inject in the mod. Okay. In addition to the texture folder, I have a meshes folder, because basically we'll be exporting all the meshes in TMC mesh format here, so I can work with them, manipulate and transfer weight and so on. Okay. So one other thing that you need a body of reference. Why? Because you will be reshaping the XPS model, right? We'll be loading in Blender. It will not be the same size and proportion as a mod for the DOA5. So you need to reshape it, resize, work the proportion, and so on. So we need a base of reference. I like to use the nude body as a reference because it's a full body. So you can have comparison in the topography and also in the armature. Another thing that we need is a mod with bones to animate the outfit. If you look back at this outfit here, there is a piece of the outfit here in her back which moves. This piece of the outfit moves. So this will need to be animated. In order to do so, we need a similar mod so we can transfer weight from one piece of the outfit to the other. Yeah, this will be the base mod we'll be using. As you can see, there is this piece of the outfit which will be used to animate that one, and also have a mask here which can be used to transfer weight to the other mask. So let's get both. I put here. As I said, this is an outfit for MomG, not for my runway. So if we're going to use this as a base, we got to convert this one to mine, so it's in her body proportions. Okay. To do so, I'll be using TMC's transformer tool, not ABC tool, because the ABC tool does not convert mods to mine. It's a limitation there. So you'll be getting this mod. You open the tool, and there is this load TMC file here, but we can just drag. Okay. And here we have the girl, which the mod belongs to, MomG in this case, and we'll be converting to my. And you have several options here, which I can tell you that the most relevant for you, if you are going to use this tool to convert outfits from one girl to another, it's the smoothness. Sometimes when you convert the outfit from one girl to the other one, you see that there will be clipping some pieces of the outfit. Some meshes will not adapt very well. In that case, you can work out these numbers to try to eliminate the clipping, avoid it from happening. Okay? You can change from hybrid to adaptive. There has been a long time since I used this tool, but I think the thing works more or less like this. The bigger the number, the smoother the surface of the mesh. The lower, you might see some edges and some polygons might become visible. However, sometimes you have to go lower to avoid clipping in some pieces of the outfit. So it's a give and take. Okay? This will be basically what you might be working. TMC tool automatically changes the body skin. As you can see here, automatic skin, normal texture transfer. But it uses skins from nude body. So if you use this tool to convert mods from which are outfits from Dead or Alive Venus Vacation from one girl to another, the body texture will be the one for the nude body, and it's not the same UV map of the one from Venus Vacation. Okay? So you can use this tool to convert Venus Vacation TMC outfit from one girl to another, but you have to change the body textures with the texture tool, okay? Which is not a rocket science, not a big deal. I think I showed how to do it in a previous video. Okay, so let's convert this one to my, so you can have it to work with. Okay, it's done. Okay, close the tool now. And let's rename. Okay. All right. So now I have it on my body proportion. As you can see, since the initial mod was based on a texture from nude body, we didn't have any issues here. But if it was a Venus Vacation mod, you would probably see issues in this area. So texture would need to be changed. Okay. All right. So now we can go into Blender and start to work. Blender was set up basically as I showed you in a previous video. It's the same thing. I'm not going to cover this again. We're going to import the nude body here because it will be our main reference for resizing the XPS model. Okay. We can even change its color as I showed before, so we can differentiate it. It might be a good idea to hide some meshes here so they don't get into the way. Only look what interests us. And the focus here is basically in the body and armature. Alright, it's here. And I will also import this Milena one. And there is a reason why, but I will show you later. For now, I'm just going to get this body and hide, like if it was not here. Just forget this body exists for now. Get back to it later. So at this point, we can import the XPS model. So let's import as XPS. And we have here the XPS model. The time to import this model and to work in this model, it's quicker or slower depending on this amount of vertex or polygons that you have in each mesh. The more complex the mesh, the slower it gets the process. If the meshes don't have that many polygons, things go pretty quick, pretty fast. Okay? Also, if you are getting a model, an XPS model, which the body proportions are really different from a dead or alive body, which was the case, for example, of the outfits from StarCraft. I think they were from Fortnite, if I'm not mistaken, and I made one for Ayane, another one for Kazumi. Ayane had the Nova color scheme, and Kazumi had the Sarah Kerrigan color scheme. Those ones were a pain. They were a pain because the body proportion was really different from the other alive body proportion. Took lots of time to get it worked out. In this case, this body doesn't have that many difference from a dead or alive body in terms of proportion, but there are some difference, and I'll show you guys how to fix that, how to work that out, and that's gonna serve as a base of knowledge for any other future work you want to do. Okay, so we're going to select the armature for this model here, for the XPS model. Okay, by clicking on the armature, and we will be clicking this tab, which is the UV editing. Okay, we can reduce this working space, and we'll be focusing on this one. In this menu, we'll be changing from edit mode to pose mode, because the pose mode, any change you do in the armature will reflect in the meshes, so it's important to do in, this. I will be pressing A to select the entire armature, and now once we move the armature, the meshes will move together. Okay, so let's get here the move tool and bring it down. See, removing the armature and the meshes. So how I like to do this resizing, as you can see, the bodies have significantly different proportion. Okay, I like to do this kind of resizing by lining up the hips and use it as a fulcrum point of reference. And you will understand as I go on why I like to go from the hips. Okay, so let's get here. We have these bones here, which are the point of reference for the hips, and I need to bring it down a little bit. One advantage of working in this kind of view is that, as you can see, you have the center bones here from the armature, and you can line up with this blue line in the back, makes it easier, to center the model. Okay, looking at the hips here, it's always important to look this reference and also look in this area too. You can go wireframe and zoom. If there are significant difference in this area from the nude-based body to the XPS one, you probably will have trouble to transfer weight and the legs meshes, and probably the outfit in this area is going to work in an odd behavior. Okay, so I think we need to bring a little bit higher the XPS model for better alignment. Okay, maybe here. Let's recenter again. Okay, well centered. Okay, so okay here. Let's look at the side. Maybe a little bit to the left. Of course, I move it up. Let's see again here. It's pretty good. Okay, so it is aligned in the hips. Okay. As you can see, we got to reduce the size of this model. We'll be going to the scale tool. You can reduce the scale of this model in any specific axis if you hold the colored boxes and bring it closer to the center. I think I said this before. Or you can hold in the white circle and bring it to the center, and you'll be rescaling the three axes together, and that's what we'll be doing. Okay. As you can see, it misaligns, but it's part of the process. Let's get again movement and bring it up here. Okay, let's not worry about aligning there perfectly yet, because we are far from getting to the point we want. We still have some way to go. So let's reduce a little bit more. Move again. At this point, we start to look at the shoulders. As you can see, I think we reduced a little bit too much. The shoulder from the XPS model is below the one from the nude body model. So since I looked only at the legs, I scaled down too much. I'll be going Ctrl Z here to bring it back to the previous size. And from now on, we're going to go really careful. We'll be aligning the hips. Center line, okay. And let's look at the shoulders. The shoulders still have a gap. We can reduce more. Okay. Okay, we have now the hips back in place. And the shoulders still can go down a little bit further. All right. I don't advise you to rush in this one, because trying to get the torso in the best proportion possible, as close as possible to the base model one, is key. You know, this, if you don't do this, you will have probably a cascade scale of issues later. Remember, this is our base reference. So if you have a bad initial reference, everything you do from this point on is going to accumulate errors. Okay, so I'd say now that it's pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good actually. How do we check if it's good? We check the bones here in the legs. We'll probably have to move back a little bit. All right. Seems good. Seems really good. So how do you know it's good? We check the bones alignment here in the hips. Okay. We check the shoulder bones if they are at the same level. We check the shoulder mesh to see if it's at the same level, and we check also the neck here. Since these are both models are based on Dead or Alive base meshes, right? So there isn't that much difference, but depending on the XPS model we are using, you might see some significant difference here. So we look at here, the alignment is pretty good in most of the areas here. What we'll be doing next, we'll be working the legs to make the legs shorter. Okay, the hips are in place and will not be touching again where they are. So let's fix these legs. We can actually get two bones together, and this time we're going to work with the blue axis only. Okay, we want to bring the feet up, see, like this. Most of the XPS models out there, you will probably see something. It's something common that I've seen modding this game for this time. Usually the feet of the shoes of the XPS model, they point down. So many times you got to do some correction in this area here. If you got to rotate the shoe to inside, or if you have to rotate up, it's going to be with the rotation tool. Okay, since you're going to rotate only up, we can select the two bones at the same time, so we keep consistency. Okay. It's going to be the red circle, and I'm going to rotate like this. Okay. If I had to rotate inside, I would select this bone and use the blue circle. The blue circle rotates inside. But in this case of this model, this correction doesn't need to be done. So I'll be going back to the bones here. So make sure I only select these bones and nothing else. This bone and this one. And I want to make them a little bit shorter because I don't want these boots sinking to the ground. Okay, I would say that they all look really good here, right? Yeah, they look. So from this point, waist down, job's done. Now we will work waist up. That's why now you probably starting to understand why I go from the hips. So waist up. Do we need to do any correction in shoulder height? No. If we had, or if the boobs were too high, these are the bones that we use in the same way as the leg. Okay? So let's say that you think that her belly has to go back a little bit because it's not, the surface is not matching very well. You can rotate like this, okay? And try to bring a little bit back. Keep in mind that the bones are connected to each other. They are actually anchored to each other. So sometimes it's not easy to rotate in the way you want. Okay? I'm not going to rotate that one. I can rotate this one just a little, just to make sure that we have a good alignment in the shoulders. Good alignment is important for several things. It's important because you want to have the body in the right proportion, but it's important also because you want to transfer weight later. And to transfer weight, since you know, it's transferred from surface to surface, there is too much gap between the surfaces. You have trouble transferring weight. Another thing that we have here, it's about the arms. As you can see, the arm for the XPS model is longer than the other one. So it's the same work we'll be doing here. Again, we'll be working with the blue. The blue axis. I would say that looks about right in terms of place. Of course, the hand is a little bit higher. We can bring it down. There are several ways that you can work to bring it down. You can rotate the bone, but if you rotate this one, it would imply having to rotate this one, this one, this one, and so on. So there will be lots of bones to be rotated here. In this case, I will rotate I'll rotate just in the wrist. Okay. Okay. So now it's basically that point that if you want to be, you know, let's say perfect, this process can take lots of time. This can take lots of time to do. Let's rotate here. I think it's better match now. Maybe yes. Okay. Also, if this was not a Dead or Alive model, you can be sure of something. You probably would have to line up finger by finger. I had to do this once, and that's basically one of the reasons why sometimes I really don't bother about using the hands or arms meshes from the XPS model. Okay? For a mod like this, you have the sleeve here, which is part of the outfit and the mesh. If I had a troublesome hand here, which needed lots of work to line up the fingers with the base model from root body, I wouldn't bother. I would just, you know, get a hand from the nude body, plug in the mod, and that's it. Like I show you guys, there was a watcher who asked me if the process for, you know, changing hands to gloves and vice versa would be the same as the process for changing from barefoot to heels or boots. It's the same thing. Same thing. If you follow that process, that works for hands too. So if you have an XPS model and see that the hands will give you trouble, and sometimes they do give you trouble, don't worry about their hands. Get hands from another model, plug in like I showed you, saves time. Okay? It really saves time, and it will look nice. It will look probably even better than you trying to perfectly line up the fingers and the hands. Okay? So we have the arms lined up. Let's have a look at the neck. I would say the neck's really, really good. I had cases in which the neck was pointing here to the front or to the back. Case, if you find something like this, you probably have to work this bone by rotating it. See? And there is also this bone here in which you can rotate. But it's not the case of this model. This model is really well lined. Okay. There is another thing which you can do when you are here, since you are manipulating the mod. Why not? If you want to change body proportions, now it's the time. Okay. So you can select the bones, like I'm selecting here for her boobs, and you can rescale them. Okay. Being honest with you guys, I don't like huge boobs. I'm not a professional artist. I think I've written that in my profile, but I really think shape and proportion are key. I'm not saying that anyone's taste is wrong. I'm just saying that I like I like having a good combination of shape and proportion to feel appealing to the eye, at least for my personal taste. So do what you feel works for you, do what you feel it's right, but keep in mind that you know, having a good proportion, good shape is it's something which, you know, it's really appealing to the eye of most people. Okay? Just a personal opinion. So at this point, the body itself is in the right proportion. Now you will find out why I brought to Blender that other model. It's because of this piece of the outfit. We're going to show it again. As you can see, in the XPS model, the outfit goes this way. And in the TMC, which you'll be using as base, they go this way. There will be no way to properly transfer weight from this piece outfit to the outfit to this one with this gap. So we got to work this out. Okay. Got to work this out. We got to make sure that they get closer to each other. Again, you can use movement, you can use rotation. We don't need to use scale because realistically this outfit's not being rescaled. So it looks like, okay, something doesn't feel right here to me. Okay, keep in mind that although the bones are passing here, the mesh is here outside. That's, yeah, the mesh is here. I don't think we need to get this one. We can start from here. Better, much better. See? Maybe what we'll be doing here is move a little bit inside. No. See if it allows me to. No, it only rotates. Okay. I think it's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough. Pretty close. So we can hide this one. Don't need to see it again. But it doesn't look well, does it? It's making this. Yeah. Let's make it look better. Mm-hmm. Okay, it looks a little bit better now. Alright. Okay, so the resizing, reshaping, adjusting is done. Once you are happy with what you have done here, go back to layout. And you see that all meshes in the XPS model, they have this blue range here. So we'll be getting one by one of the meshes and applying. You got to go to this range, blue range menu, and apply everything. If you don't do this, the changes in the meshes will not apply, basically. Apply everything. Alright, apply it. We can now hide the nude body, which was our reference. Okay. And what we have to do is start to export these meshes. We'll probably not be using all the meshes. This fit, for example, I don't know why it is here. I don't know, never use XNA Lara, so I'm not sure why there is this bare fit there. Did I hide anybody? Yeah, it's hidden now. Okay. Can hide the armature. I don't recommend you to do any work at this point. Oh, why? Because if you keep manipulating the meshes here, and if you do any additional change on it, there is a big chance that the UV map for the mesh will break. It happened with me a few times. You know, I tried to get to this point, and from here do additional changes in the meshes, and it ended up breaking the UV map. So don't do anything else from this point. If you reach at this point, it's time now to start to export the meshes. So you select the mesh and go File, Export, TMC Mesh, and now you know why I have the mesh folder. So we can start to put everything there. Okay. The time to export each mesh will depend on the complexity of the mesh. The more vertex you have, the more polygons you have, the more time Blender will take to do the exportation. If they are simple meshes, they will export pretty quickly. Okay. There are, if you look at the mod, there are some meshes which can be merged together. Usually metal pieces of the outfit, I merge them together because they will be using the same effect for shining. But as I said, I don't do at this point. It's something that I do in the next step because I don't want to risk breaking the UV map of the mesh. If you break the UV map, basically when the texture draws in game, it will be messed up. It will not draw right. You know, the mesh will look with the texture fuzzy, and trust me, there is no way to fix. You have to go back and redo this entire process again. Okay? So I will not keep you up until I export everything. All I can tell is that this process, it works for porting an XPS model to TMC. It's the very first initial step to do so. From now on, it's basically assembling the mod in TMC format, assigning textures to the meshes, transferring weight so the pieces of the body and the outfit moves properly, okay, which I'll be covering in another video. This process also works if you just find a model in the internet and want to get just a piece of the outfit. Maybe you don't want to do a full port. Maybe you just want a skirt, a shirt, a belt, some boots that you'll find nice and would like to use in your mod to compose the mod. It's going to be the same process. You will be going through the reshaping, resizing, applying the changes, and exporting the TMC meshes like I'm doing here. Okay. As you can see, the body is taking more time to export. And that's about it, guys. I don't think this one is used because, let's face it, it's but this is another thing. If you are in doubt, export everything. It's another thing that I can tell you. You did all this work to his size, to his shape, to having the right proportion. If you are not 100% sure if you'll be using the mesh or not, export it, like I'm doing. Okay? And once you get to this point, like I just did, saving everything, make sure to have a backup of this folder. Because trust me, you don't want to do this work again. For this model, it was quick. For other models, it will not be quick. You probably will get some models which will be a pain and you will probably spend a day trying to do this. Can easily be. You know, as I said, when I ported the StarCraft outfits to Kazumi Ayane, those were a pain. And I had to change the meshes when I imported them back in Blender. So at this point, if you have linked the TMC mesh extension to last round Photoshop Studio, you can see the meshes by just double clicking here. It's something that you should do. Makes it easier to know which mesh is each. Okay. And that's what I had to show you in this first video. The way I go from this point on is the following, guys. I will be getting the object tool, loading the node body, creating new object slots, and injecting all the meshes into the node body with the polygon insert tool. Because once I load in Blender, I will have the node body mesh with all these meshes together. Okay, so I can start transferring weight. And if I see that any of the body parts from the XPS model is not good or I don't like, I have the node body to cut the piece from the node body by the end of the process and replace it with the one for the XPS. But this is going to be a talk for the next video. Okay, this was the initial work. The next step is to assemble the mod. So I hope you guys like it. I see you in the next video.